All right, welcome back, everybody, to What's Going On in Germany. It's your one-stop shop to figure out what's going on in Germany. I'm Peter Dawell.
And I'm Nora Kane.
And today we are diving deep into a topic that has got Germany really hitting the gas. We're talking about autonomous driving.
That's right.
But not just self-driving cars.
No.
We're talking about a whole new transportation ecosystem.
Exactly. And we're going to be looking at the German government strategy document. It's called Die Zukunft fährt autonom.
Which
translates to the future drives autonomously.
The future drives autonomously. So this document, this wasn't some kind of internal memo for policymakers. This was meant for everybody in Germany to see.
Yeah.
Laying out this bold vision of how self-driving vehicles, from cars to ferries to even drones, will be woven into daily life by 2030.
It's very ambitious, especially considering the current state of autonomous driving in most of the world.
I mean, can you imagine getting on a driverless bus to go to work?
Yeah.
Or having your groceries delivered by a self-driving truck?
Well, that's what they're aiming for.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So why is Germany going all in on this? Is it just about being, at the forefront of technology, the cutting edge? Or is there a little bit more to it?
Well, they definitely see themselves as a leader in the global car industry.
Of course.
And this industry is shifting towards software and AI. Autonomous driving is a very natural next step. It's not just about staying ahead of the curve, though. It's also about addressing some very real challenges facing Germany.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, one major issue is a growing driver shortage. Germany has a rapidly aging population and a declining birth rate. That means fewer people to fill those trucking and delivery jobs.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with how important, the German economy is based around things like manufacturing and getting goods where they need to go.
Precisely.
I bet this also ties into their concerns about public transportation as well, right?
Yes.
Especially in rural areas where it's not always cost-effective to run frequent bus or train services.
That's right. Germany sees autonomous vehicles as a way to strengthen and expand their public transportation network, make it more efficient, accessible, and affordable for everyone.
So they're thinking about the economic and logistical benefits. But let's be real, a lot of people are still nervous about the idea of self-driving vehicles.
Yeah.
How's the German government plan to address those concerns? Because I imagine that's a big one.
Absolutely. Public acceptance is definitely one of the biggest hurdles, and the strategy document acknowledges that. They're emphasizing the safety improvements that autonomous vehicles could bring. Reducing accidents caused by human error is a huge concern for them.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Human error is a factor in most accidents. So, theoretically, taking the human out of the driver's seat could make the roads a lot safer.
Exactly. And to build trust, they're also investing heavily in creating standardized testing scenarios for autonomous vehicles, making sure that these systems are rigorously tested before they hit the road.
So it sounds like they're taking a pretty comprehensive approach from developing the technology to addressing the societal concerns that people might have. But here's what really stood out to me in this document.
Okay.
It's not just about cars.
Right. It's fascinating how Germany is envisioning autonomous driving across all modes of transportation.
It's like they're creating this interconnected web of self-driving everything. Give me some examples of what kind of futuristic transportation scenarios are they cooking up?
Okay, well, some of it is already happening. They have driverless U-Bahn trains running in Nuremberg, and they're already operating at greater frequency than human-operated trains.
Wow. Driverless trains running more efficiently than humans. Color me impressed. What else?
They are developing autonomous ferries in Kiel to connect different parts of the city and surrounding islands. And they're even looking into using drones for medical deliveries in rural areas. That could be a game changer for healthcare access.
Drones delivering medicine? That's straight out of a sci-fi movie. It seems like they're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But I imagine there are some pretty hefty challenges to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. And developing the technology itself is one thing, but then there's the whole regulatory landscape, making sure that there are clear laws and guidelines for these vehicles to operate safely.
Right. You can't just have a fleet of self-driving vehicles just running around without some ground rules.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole data privacy issue.
Yeah.
How do you collect and manage all of the data these vehicles generate without compromising people's privacy?
Yeah.
Especially given Germany's history and their emphasis on data protection.
That's a huge concern.
Okay, so data privacy is a big one. What about cybersecurity? I mean, if these vehicles are connected to a network, couldn't they be vulnerable to hacking?
That's a valid concern and one that the German government is taking seriously. They're investing in research on cybersecurity for autonomous systems, trying to stay one step ahead of potential threats.
Well, it sounds like they've really thought this through. But, reading through this document, one thing that struck me is that it doesn't really delve into the ethical dilemmas of autonomous driving.
That's an interesting point. You've got these vehicles making decisions in real time, potentially in life or death situations. Who's responsible when something goes wrong? And how do you program a machine to make those kinds of moral judgments?
Right, like if a self-driving car is faced with an unavoidable accident, does it swerve to avoid hitting a pedestrian, even if that puts the passengers at risk? Those are some seriously tough questions.
And it's something that we as a society are going to have to grapple with as this technology becomes more prevalent. It's not just a technical challenge, it's a philosophical one.
Well, it sounds like Germany is taking a very pragmatic and proactive approach to autonomous driving. They're addressing the practical concerns, but they're also acknowledging that there are some big ethical questions on the horizon.
Absolutely. And it will be interesting to see how they navigate those questions as they move forward with this ambitious plan. It's not even just the technology itself. They're looking at how autonomous driving could create new jobs, revitalize rural communities, even reduce carbon emissions.
Wow, so it's like they're really trying to think about the ripple effects, the positive, the negative, and trying to kind of plan accordingly. That's pretty impressive.
It is, and it speaks to their long-term vision. It's not just about getting self-driving cars on the road as quickly as possible. They're thinking about how this technology can really be woven into the fabric of society in a way that benefits everyone.
So it's not just a tech race for them.
No.
It's about using this technology to kind of address these broader societal goals. Now, I'm curious, how does Germany's approach to autonomous driving compare to what's happening in other parts of the world? Are they leading the pack? Or are other countries hot on their heels?
Well, Germany is definitely a front runner, especially in terms of their comprehensive strategy and this commitment to public transportation integration.
Yeah. But other countries are making strides as well. The U.S., for example, has a lot of private companies investing heavily in autonomous driving technology.
Right, yeah, like Tesla, Waymo, Cruise. They're all kind of vying for their piece of that self-driving pie.
Exactly.
But it sounds like, I don't know, Germany's approach is a little more holistic, like looking at the bigger picture beyond just the cars.
Yeah. And that could give them a strategic advantage in the long run. While other countries are focusing on these individual vehicles, Germany's building an entire ecosystem, and that could make their system more efficient and adaptable.
It's like the difference between building a bunch of standalone houses versus planning a whole city,
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
with interconnected infrastructure.
And this interconnectedness, I think, could be key to really unlocking the full potential of autonomous driving.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you have this seamless network of self-driving vehicles across all these different modes of transport, you can optimize routes, reduce congestion, and make transportation much more accessible. It's like a giant synchronized dance of transportation, all orchestrated by AI. Okay, now I'm getting really excited about this. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What are some of the potential downsides or risks that Germany might face with this, very ambitious plan?
Well, one concern is job displacement. As autonomous vehicles become more widespread, there's definitely a risk that jobs in the transportation sector, truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery drivers, those jobs could be lost.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. And something that policymakers are going to have to think about ahead of time, right? Maybe invest in retraining programs or creating new opportunities.
Absolutely. And there are also concerns about the potential for algorithmic bias. These autonomous systems, they're trained on these massive data sets.
Right.
And if those data sets are biased, the systems themselves could perpetuate those biases, leading to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
That's a really, really good point. It's crucial to make sure that these systems are designed and trained in a way that is fair and equitable for everybody.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of liability. If an autonomous vehicle gets into an accident, who's responsible? Is it the manufacturer?
Yeah.
The software developer? The owner of the vehicle? These are all complex questions that are going to have to be sorted out as this technology becomes more widespread.
So it sounds like there's this whole web of legal and ethical considerations. It's not just about the cool tech.
Right.
It's about the human impact,
Yeah.
making sure that this transition to this autonomous future is done responsibly and ethically.
And that requires a multifaceted approach involving not just engineers and policymakers, but also ethicists, lawyers, social scientists, and of course, the public.
So it's a collaborative effort. We need everybody kind of working together to make sure that this autonomous future benefits everybody.
And Germany seems to be taking that collaborative approach seriously, which is encouraging. They're really engaging in this public dialogue, seeking input from different stakeholders, trying to anticipate, and address potential concerns.
That's good. That's good to hear. They're not just kind of like, charging ahead with blinders on. They're trying to bring everybody along for the ride. Now, what can we, as Americans, learn from Germany's experience? Are there takeaways that we can apply here in the U.S.?
Absolutely. One key takeaway is the importance of this comprehensive long-term vision. Germany isn't just focusing on individual technologies.
Right.
They're thinking about how autonomous driving can be integrated into their entire transportation system and their society as a whole.
So instead of just, zeroing in on the self-driving cars, we need to think about how this technology can transform public transportation, logistics, even urban planning.
Exactly. And we can learn from their approach to public engagement, addressing potential concerns. Germany is taking steps to build trust and transparency, which is so essential for getting public acceptance.
Transparency is key. People need to understand how these systems work, what the potential benefits are, what the risks are, and how their data is being used.
Right. And that open dialogue can help to shape how this technology is developed and deployed in a way that aligns with societal values.
So it's not just about the tech.
No.
It's about the human element, the ethical considerations, and making sure this transition to an autonomous future really does benefit everyone.
Exactly. And I think Germany is providing a really valuable model for how to approach this complex and rapidly evolving landscape.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see how Germany's taking on this challenge. It's complex. They're not shying away from that, but they're also not letting fear or uncertainty hold them back.
Right.
They're embracing the potential of this technology.
Yeah.
But being mindful of those potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all learn from.
Yeah.
Right? No matter where we live or what our interests are.
Exactly. The future is driving autonomously, and it's up to us to shape that future in a way that is beneficial for everyone.
I mean, it's really pretty incredible to see how Germany's going about this whole autonomous revolution, really thinking about the big picture, the long game, how to position themselves not just as a tech leader, but really a leader in, responsible innovation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. They're kind of setting the standard, in a way, for other countries to follow, like how to navigate this whole transition.
And, it's funny, when you think about Germany, at least for me, I even think about their engineering, right?
Yeah.
Precision, efficiency. And it seems like this approach really embodies that.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. They're applying that same meticulousness and forward thinking to this new frontier.
And that's something I think everybody can get behind, right? Who doesn't want a future with, safer roads, more efficient transportation, maybe even a little bit of extra free time, while our cars are doing the driving.
Yeah. I know I wouldn't mind having my car handle that morning commute while I'm catching up on emails. But all jokes aside, I think it's clear that Germany's taking this seriously. And their efforts could really have a big impact around the world.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today. I mean, we've really explored Germany's vision, the potential benefits, the challenges.
Yeah.
Even, pondered some of the ethical dilemmas that lie ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been, a fascinating conversation. Germany's clearly at the forefront. And their experience, I think, offers these valuable lessons for all of us as we navigate this.
So to kind of wrap things up, what are some key takeaways for our listeners to remember from our deep dive today?
Well, I think the biggest one is that this isn't just about these fancy self-driving cars. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about transportation. Germany's building an entire ecosystem, and that approach, I think, could be really key to unlocking the full potential of this.
Yeah. And it's not just about the tech itself, right? It's about the human element. Germany's taking those steps to address the concerns people might have about jobs, data privacy, all of that. And, those are all critical considerations as we move forward.
And their experience, shows us that it is possible to embrace these big changes while also being mindful of the potential risks and challenges.
It's about having that conversation, right?
Right, exactly.
So there you have it. A glimpse into Germany's autonomous driving revolution. It's ambitious, innovative. Definitely something to keep your eye on.
Definitely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.
And remember, the future may be driving autonomously, but we're still the ones who get to shape what that future looks like.